Hello, listeners. Welcome back to another episode of New Block Nerds Podcast. I'm your host, Chris, aka Prince, with the homie Darron, aka Medic Grizz. How you doing today, bro?
Doing great, bro. How you feeling today?
I'm good, man. I'm good. I'm excited about today's chapter. So, guys, if you guys haven't been following this, we do this every week. We are doing our Game of Thrones reread or walkthrough, if you will. It's a reread for me, walkthrough for Duran, being the first time he's read it. So we are on Arya 2. Last week we were with Tyrion at the wall, so we're back down in King's Landing, and this is the first time we've actually seen Arya since the whole debacle at the inn at the crossroads with Lady and Nymeria and Joffrey. So, um, Duran, I really love this chapter. I was reading this chapter yesterday, preparing for today, and I love this chapter for so many reasons. One, Arya is one of my favorite characters,
hmm
and I feel like it's chapters like this where you fall in love with Ned's character,
hmm
um, because he is very much looked at as like the protagonist early on in the
Yes.
story. And it's another one of those examples of, Ned being the kind of father you would hope for in a world like Westeros, right? I mean, like there's not a lot of good ones out here in Westeros, and I we can we can safely say Ned is among the best fathers that we've ever seen in Westeros.
Yeah, it's like so cool because like even when they mention everything and how like Arya is Ned Jr. I know she's a lady, but she's Ned Jr. And it
Yeah.
mentions how like even a father, you can tell the father's moods change when he's arguing with the council, and how like everybody's so used to him being late, and then how seeing how she just pays attention to every single detail that he does, from
Mm-hmm.
how she had like almost like a flashback memory of how he would sit down with every person of his crew and learn a story of them, no matter if it's about horses, about stuff that he don't even care about, but get to know the men that you actually need to protect you. It just was so cool for her to even like as a young lad to even recognize that and pay attention to that. Complete opposite of her sister. It's like
Yeah.
this it was moon and sun. Like that's literally what they are. Like it's totally different worlds.
Yeah, it's I'm so glad you bring that up because like that is one of the reasons why we love Ned, right, as like a fandom is because he is very much not that kind of he's not the lord that's going to, and he says it here like in the chapter too, like he's not the lord that's going to ask his men to die for a stranger. Like the people who fight for the North, and you'll see as we go through the books, especially, I know everyone's seen the show and all the North remembers all this kind of stuff. The reason why they have such fierce loyalty to the Starks is because of men like Ned who have been ruling that land for thousands of years. It's because they're genuine good people. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
in the context of feudalism in Westeros, as good as you can be in a position like that, right?
Compared to the others, like he has a code, ethics, and everything else, and it even
Right.
goes down to like how he is with the men, and then how he separates the thing with his daughter. So I mentioned Arya's in this whole long table room where they're having dinner and stuff. And then you see how Sansa, like, they both know they are not vibing with each other since the whole thing happened with the wolf lady. That they sat far enough with each other where they don't have to talk to each other, but not far enough where the dad won't say anything. Like, they're
Right.
not stupid. They know, like,
Right.
yo, that's still dad right there. He'll throw it down. So just seeing the vibe of having, like, him being the king of his household, but also seeing how he has two young ladies that are complete opposite, and he still was soft with them, but he's completely different with the men.
Yeah.
That's a vibe
Yeah.
you want in an actual person leader.
Yeah, and it's another one of those situations where like you feel so bad for Ned because like you're seeing Ned from the POV of one of his children, and
Yeah.
Arya's like 9 years old, and she can see just how much this Hand of the King office is wearing on her dad. Like, like you mentioned that like people got used to him being late, right? So he walked in and everyone gets up, and he's like, "I'm glad to see that you guys have started without me. Like,
Yeah.
there's no need to wait for me because I'm always going to be late." And like, Arya's noticing that it's another one of those things where like kids pay attention to
hmm
things a lot more closely than us adults would like to admit. And she can see the wear and tear that this is having on her dad, and it's affecting his mood to the point where like even that one little comment that Sansa made about like, well, you know, all highborn ladies are going to be there. You won't be missed if you don't want to go to the tournament. And Ned's like, enough of this shit. I had enough of this. All right, I'm not in the fucking mood today, girls. Okay, and he just kind of gets up without even eating and like kind of storms out. So again, it's just like it's another one of those things where it's just like, oh, poor Ned. Like
He was
he's so stressed out, bro.
he was so mad. They're like, yo, they're telling him the hey, they're honoring this giant, um, excuse me, to honor you for being the hand of king, and they want to have a ceremony and party. He's like, I'm not having my daughters a part of this whole fiasco. I don't want nothing to do with that. But
Right,
then I convinced him, like, well, everyone's going to be there, and it's honoring you, so you not having girls there, it kind of comes off a little shady. And then Arya's like, I don't want to be there either. It's just
right.
like
Or it's like I don't care. I don't want to be there.
the vibe of having your daughter speak like your thoughts without you saying it is so cool, y'all. She's like, bro, I just want to be in my room. I don't like y'all people. Like y'all's, I don't like any of y'all. I just want to go up there the best time. If I can be excused from dinner right now, I would, but y'all won't let me. So that's
Right.
how the whole vibe is, and it's like, dang, Ned, you got one, brother. You definitely got one.
Yeah, and it's back to Arya. It's interesting that like as soon as her father leaves, like very short after, she storms out as well too. Like she
Yes.
just cause she has zero respect for Septa Mordain. The poor lady. All she's trying to do is just do her job. And Ned says it later too. Like she's
Yeah.
just trying to do her job, and Arya she's just insufferable. Like it's impossible to try to make Arya into whatever you're already grooming Sansa to be. It's just not gonna happen. It's
It's
just
not,
not gonna
bro.
happen.
Like they're talking up. Like she's not having. On top of that, you also see her craftiness. Like she went between the guard's legs to get out of the room. Like she's also mentioned how she loves the door and how the door, the best thing about the entire room, is the color of the door and this giant cross handle that no one can get in. She
Mm-hmm.
just supposed to be left alone. And then when she
Yep.
gets to her room and like everyone tries to knock on the door, and she's like, "Not here, go away." Like she just answered, and you kind of go for that. Like she
Yeah.
literally just
But she's
answered.
a kid. You got to remember, this is from the POV of a child.
But it's just like they tried the aggressive approach, and she's not having it. She even mentioned how she mentioned she was like Bran, where she can just climb out of here, go get the food, and then dip off and peel off, and how she misses John and everybody else. It's like she's having these feelings of being around a family, but she doesn't know how much she misses it until
Right.
she's around other people.
Yeah, it's sad too because it is kind of foreshadowing about her kind of being out there on the run on her own.
Yeah,
When she mentions kind of just running away and just running through the woods and scavenging and stuff like that, which ultimately that that's kind of in her future, in her very near future, a
yeah,
lot sooner than she
dude.
probably
Dang, bro, why you gotta say
can
that?
even imagine. I know.
Why you
It's
gotta
sad.
say that, bro?
It's
Like
super
it's
sad. It's
just,
super sad. It's super sad.
uh,
But I also love the part in this chapter too where she's digging through her chest and she pulls out needle. Of course, she smuggled it down here to King's Landing. Um,
absolutely.
and ultimately, Ned comes, knocks real softly on the door, and that's another one of those things too, right? Where it's just like Ned knows how to treat his children differently. Like he knows how, like what's going to get the response that he wants out of his children. Like you said, people were like banging on the door,
Hmm.
and here Ned comes, just giving her a small little knock, knowing that like, hey, it's daddy. Just open the door, sweetheart. Right. So she opens the door. Um, and what was your reaction to Ned finding her sword for the first time? Because I love this interaction between them.
It's crazy because Arya didn't even realize she knew that was her dad because she was also like daydreaming about leaving and escaping, and then a soft knock, and then she forgot she had needle in her hand. So
Yeah.
when Pops came in, he was like, "Yo, why do you have this? This is not the lady." Like he tried his best to drill on her, like, "You're not supposed to have this. What do you think everyone's gonna think about this?" And then like the realization, like, she's not gonna be a lady.
Mm-hmm.
It just like
Nope.
dawned on him, like, and then she tried to explain to him, like, "Hey, I know everyone lies. I know you hear everybody here. You lied about your wolf being gone too. Like it's not just there, but do you even know how to use a sword? Yeah, stick with the pointy end. It just was like the interaction was like, I
It was
have
so
it.
wholesome. Like it
I
was
have a
just
handful here. That's all I can say. Like I literally have a
yeah.
handful. There's nothing I can do. Let me just try a different conversation because it's not gonna be ladylike no matter what.
Yeah, and there's a lot of interesting tidbits in here because he talks about, you know, her being a lady and her not needing to have a sword and her likening her to his sister Lyanna, which
Yes.
we won't derail the pod and get into all the foreshadowing and the symbolism here, but he mentions
Mm,
pretty explicitly, like, you have the wolf blood in you, like
yeah.
what my father called it. Lyanna had a touch of it. My brother Brandon, more than a touch,
Mm-hmm.
and it led them both to an early grave. So he is trying to teach her a lesson. Like, I understand this might be your true nature,
Yeah.
but tread carefully. We're not at home, baby girl. We
Mm-hmm.
are not at home. Like, there are people who mean us real ill will here.
And the thing about it, like she knows that she's not at home, but
Mm-hmm.
the magnitude of what she does is not really set at her yet. Like people here will off you and keep it moving. You're still a child, but you don't get that. And Ned's looking and he gets the vibe. And he's like, "Yo, you're gonna be trouble."
Mm-hmm.
So let's talk about this sword. I don't even know someone in my own freaking castle was giving you a sword. First of all, it also shows you how Ned can be so tunnel vision with one thing that he doesn't see everything. It's like a little
Right.
slip to it that some things he misses. But I'm excited to see how this is the birth of the Arya that we love and how
Yeah.
it's actually going to start showcasing more. And like the lady stuff is dead. It's dead. They're going to try every once in a while, but it's dead. It's
Yeah.
now time for the journey of her being the young boy.
Yeah.
It comes down to it.
Yeah. And it's again, this is like the reason why, like, I love Arya so much is, like, when he's asking her about where'd you get this sword, and in her monologue, she's like, she just bit her lip and didn't say anything. She wouldn't betray John, not even
She's
to
not
her own
snitching.
father. And it's just, yeah, Laurie's like, I ain't no snitch. Like, I ain't no snitch. And it's just like, that's her character. Like, she just can't help, like, she's 9 years old. Like, that's not something that she was taught. She was just like, nah, John's my brother. I love him. I'm not gonna betray him. Because I know that John got this on the down low. Like, and I
That,
know I'm not supposed to have it, so I'm
yes.
not going to get him in trouble by telling you where I got it. I'm just going to take this one on the chin.
It's even crazier, like even think that we just mentioned everything about how Ned's presence and how Ned is, how he knows to talk to each girl, and how he's still the authority figure. Even with all that presence in the aura, he's like, I'm not snitching. Like John's my
Yeah,
guy. Like I'm not
yeah.
snitching. That's my
She's like, no,
brother.
I'm not snitching. No, that's not gonna happen, Pop. Sorry, it's not gonna happen.
And he
Um,
recognized that too. He was like, you know what? All right, next conversation. I'm not going to keep pressing it because I know you're not going to tell me.
and to Ned's credit, again, given the setting that they're in, this is not something that any Lord Father would do for their daughter.
Yes,
Is basically sign her up for sword lessons, essentially.
bro. Like I had flashbacks to the show. I'm sorry. I had
I
so many
know.
flashbacks to the show. You're
Yeah,
like, you're late. What? And then I can just picture I can't think of the actor's name right now. But like
yeah. But I can
everything,
picture him. Yeah,
yes, it's just like he was my guy. Like
yeah.
yes,
Serial
let's
Pharrell.
go,
Yeah, that's
let's
the
freaking go.
homie. Yeah, yeah.
Oh
And it's
man,
funny because, like, he's described so much differently in the books. Like, in the books, he has like a huge nose and a bald head, but in the show, he had like curly hair and
yes,
whatever. Um, so, like, when I'm reading the book, I actually, and maybe this is just me because I saw the show first, I'm picturing the guy from the show,
yes,
and he
yes.
like throws her a sword, and she drops, and he's just like, "Tomorrow you will catch it. Now pick it up."
Like must learn how to dance. One hand, pick it. One hand, not two hands. Like this to start things like that. Like he's like, no, you hold it with two hands. No, you need one hand with this sword. Oh, you want your left hand? Good idea. Like it's just like little small things that's gonna make her the beast that she's gonna eventually become.
Yeah. So, and this is really like just the beginning of like Arya's training regimen over the course of the next couple of years of her life.
Hmm.
It's just really interesting to see that, like, even though, like, Ned understands what her place needs to be in
Yeah,
Westeros, but he's also going to throw a little bone here. And I think maybe that's a little bit of, he talks about how Arya reminds him of Lyanna, and how she probably would have wielded a sword if his father allowed it.
yeah.
And maybe in the back of Ned's mind, maybe Ned's like, if he had allowed her a little bit of freedom to be herself, maybe she wouldn't have.
It's always a
Who
what if
knows?
part. It's always
Right?
a what
It's
if
always a
part.
what if, especially when
Especially
you when,
like
when you're talking, like, Lyanna and all that
especially
stuff.
when he lived through that and then he sees a second coming of it. It's like
Mm-hmm.
you try to make different decisions because you knew what happened last time. But it also came with also responsibility of like, yo, you gotta be nice to people trying to help you. Like the lady's just trying to teach you, she's trying to do her job. So I'm gonna need you to fall back a little bit. I'm gonna let you have your sword, but in return, calm it down. It's like remember these are still people that are trying their best.
Right, right. And before we get out of here, too, there's a one quote that was recited in the show later on, that Ned explains to her about, like, look, you can't fight with your sister. I understand that y'all have your differences and everything like that, but he told her, he's like, look, you're only 9. You've only known summer. You don't know what winter is like. And let me tell you something. In the winter, when the cold winds blow,
Mm-hmm.
the lone wolf dies, but the pack survives. We have to share our strengths. So remember that. And I think that is something that is going to come back into play when
Yeah.
winter does eventually, inevitably hit Westeros. And we start to see somewhat of a mini Stark reunion later on down the road. That they're gonna they're gonna remember all these teachings that Ned gave them, and you saw a lot of that in the show too, where like Ned's presence was still very much felt long after he was dead and gone.
I'm sorry. Sometimes I think back at the show and while we're reading these books. Please like, subscribe. Please join us on this journey. It makes me hate that they killed him, but also I understand it.
Yeah,
It just makes
yeah,
me hate it so much. Cause like this man's wisdom, like he is talking about, like, yo, I understand this little squabble right here, but the long term game, we still the North, and the winter is coming. I need my pack together.
right.
That's just like
I can't have y'all bickering down here.
that's
We need to
pure
be a
wisdom.
united front. Yeah,
That's pure wisdom of what's going on. Like, just man, I need to like do this show over again, but like have like a what if.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yo,
There's so many what ifs because so many people die. So it's just like, but I mean, to be fair, I mean, I feel like as great of a character as Ned is, like
mhm.
his purpose was to, like, that was his purpose, was to die. So I mean, like the old guard had to die for the new guard to move in.
Hear me out. I know it's going off little chain. This was a great chapter. I can't wait to the next one. But what if Ned and Arya both like imagine like if Marvel did like a what if of Game of Thrones and there's just like
Hmm.
an episode of them like an old Ned. I was like an olden type figure and then like Eric like you patch them together, like fighting side by side. That would be like intense in my head. Like I would buy that book.
Well, the thing is though,
I would buy that.
thing is though about those what ifs, everything would change. If Ned never
I
dies, Arya
know, I
never flees, and
know,
she never becomes
I
the
know.
badass that she is.
I know. It's just like, what do you want? Pick your poison. But anyway, this is a great chapter. I can't wait because we're actually going to see the journey of her, how Neil's being embraced, how she is going to become strategic. And I see how she's going to play nice and smile when she has to, but
Hmm.
become very, very dangerous in the shadows.
Yep.
That's
Yeah.
going to be cool.
Yeah. So it's Arya's again one of my favorite characters. I always love a good Arya chapter just because she's just so likable. Like, I mean, like when you read her inner monologue, it's just like, yeah, like I feel exactly the same way you do, girl. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
but, but yeah, guys. I mean, we're really enjoying this journey, going through chapter by chapter. Next week, I think it's another Daenerys chapter, which I always love a Daenerys chapter. So we're back in
Oh, we got
Essos next
back
week.
in chapters. As long as I don't, yeah,
Yeah,
I'm like that. I like that. Let's go.
as
I
long
can't
as we don't
wait.
stumble upon Catelyn again, right?
Listeners, if you don't know, please go back to the New Block Nerds YouTube page, see the journey we went to, and you'll see my distaste for this young lady and old lady and what she has done so far. I'm not a fan.
It's only going to get worse, man. It's only going to get worse from here.
So,
So buckle up, man. Buckle up.
oh my
But
gosh.
anyways, guys, I've been Prince. Darron, it's a pleasure as always, man. And we'll catch you guys in Essos next week.
All right, peace and love.